You know how it feels these days, like you're constantly juggling, trying to keep all the balls in the air? Work, life, maybe even that little dream project you've got tucked away.
Yeah, totally.
And in the middle of all that, the idea of actually getting stuff done, truly being productive, instead of just, getting lost in procrastination, it can feel like searching for a unicorn. Funny enough, you sent us some really fascinating material that tackles this exact struggle. So that's what we're diving deep into today.
Exactly. You've shared Darius Foroux's book, Do It Today, Overcome Procrastination, Improve Productivity, and Achieve More Meaningful Things. Think of it as a concentrated dose of his best insights.
Right.
A collection of articles really laser focused on giving us clarity and, very more importantly, practical step-by-step strategies to get a handle on this whole productivity puzzle.
And it really feels like it hits the moment, doesn't it? The preface really resonated. Foroux talks about this almost whiplash shift from the pandemic era, that slower pace, that chance to rethink things.
Right, yeah.
To this current relentless speed, where it feels like if you're not constantly moving, you're falling behind. This book feels like a direct, timely response to that pressure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's structured it in a way that makes a lot of sense, almost like a journey. Part 1 is all about tackling procrastination head on.
Okay.
Then we move into practical ways to boost your productivity in part 2. And finally, part 3 looks at the bigger picture, how to actually achieve more meaningful things over the long haul. It's like a guide to getting your act together, but in a really empowering way.
What I also found so relatable in the About This Book section was Foroux's own story. He's not some guru who's never struggled with this stuff.
No, not at all.
He's really open about his own battles with procrastination and how he built this system through, trial and error.
Yeah.
That list bombing story where his email list got hammered with fake signups and his immediate decision to just start writing this book, that's the do it today philosophy in action right there, isn't it?
What's fascinating there is that it immediately cuts to the core of his message. Instead of getting bogged down in the annoyance and, the frustration,
right,
he channeled that energy into something productive and meaningful right then and there.
Right.
And that's really the mission of this deep dive for you, our listener, to extract those key, impactful ideas from his experiences and research, giving you usable knowledge without that feeling of being overwhelmed by too much information. We're aiming for those genuine aha moments, the kind that actually lead to making positive changes.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting with part 1, overcoming procrastination. Right away, Foroux gets to what he believes is the central issue. And it's not about needing the latest productivity app or a perfectly silent workspace.
No, he makes a strong case that procrastination is fundamentally an internal struggle. It's not about blaming external factors like a glitchy laptop or noisy neighbors. He even brings in Stephen Pressfield's idea of resistance from the War of Art, framing it as this internal adversary that's constantly trying to derail our progress.
Yeah.
Keep us from doing the things that matter.
Which really hits home, doesn't it? It's that sneaky voice in your head whispering, maybe later, or, ugh, this is too much. So if it's an inner battle, what's his strategy for winning those little skirmishes?
Well, a crucial element is building your mental toughness, strengthening that inner resolve. Foroux talks about actively engaging with ideas from stoicism, pragmatism, and mindfulness through reading.
Interesting.
Now, this isn't about suddenly becoming a philosopher, right? But about picking up practical tools for better managing your thoughts. If you're feeling overwhelmed, like so many of us do, getting a handle on that internal monologue is a really powerful first step.
So it's about taking the reins of your thoughts, not letting them run wild and lead you straight into the procrastination trap. Makes perfect sense. What concrete everyday steps does he suggest for building this mental resilience?
He emphasizes the cumulative power of daily habits. His own routine includes regular journaling for self-reflection.
Okay.
Consistent reading to broaden your perspective, learn new things, setting very clear priorities for each day so you know exactly what deserves your focus.
Right.
Consciously filtering out the endless stream of useless information that can so easily derail your attention.
Right.
And even something as fundamental as connecting with friends and family to stay grounded and maintain perspective.
Those sound like small, almost deceptively simple actions. How do these habits actually help in tackling procrastination when you're staring down, say, a huge, intimidating task?
That's where his idea of having a list of small but significant tasks comes into play. Even when you feel utterly resistant to starting that massive project, like writing a report or finally decluttering the attic.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Right. You can still pick one of those smaller items off your list and get it done. It gives you a sense of accomplishment, a little win, and keeps your momentum going, even if it's just a tiny step forward. It's about gradually eroding that feeling of being completely stuck.
So it's about breaking down that wall of resistance by taking small, manageable actions that still contribute to overall productivity. Okay, I like that. What about when you actually do manage to sit down and start working? How does he suggest staying laser focused?
He highlights a couple of really effective focus strategies. The first is the power of elimination, actively getting rid of distractions. And this isn't just about tidying your desk. You know? It's also about decluttering your mental space, letting go of unnecessary ideas and commitments that are constantly vying for your attention. This really ties into your point about wanting clarity. The less mental noise, the easier it is to concentrate on what truly matters.
Makes perfect sense. Less clutter, more focus. What's the second key focus strategy he recommends? This one sounds interesting.
This one is really interesting. It talks about the science behind consciously thinking about your past successes. Apparently, recalling positive achievements actually triggers the release of serotonin in your brain.
Really? Serotonin?
Yeah. And as he explains, referencing Alex Cord's research, serotonin isn't just about boosting your mood. It also plays a vital role in regulating your attention span and your ability to delay gratification. So, by intentionally reflecting on times you've succeeded in the past, you can actually prime your brain to better focus on your current long-term goals. You're giving your anterior cingulate cortex a little serotonin boost. Think of it as a natural concentration enhancer your own mind can produce.
Wow, that's a really clever little brain hack. So instead of getting bogged down in how hard the task seems, you can essentially nudge your brain into a more focused state by remembering past wins. I can definitely see how that could be helpful. Now, he also talks about willpower, and it sounds like he's not a big believer in solely relying on it.
You're absolutely right. He emphasizes that relying purely on willpower to overcome procrastination is often, ineffective in the long run.
Okay.
Instead, he champions the idea of building robust productivity systems. These systems are built on a combination of elements, including setting self-imposed deadlines to create a sense of urgency, establishing accountability mechanisms, like sharing your goals with someone to foster responsibility, working in focus bursts with strategic breaks to maximize concentration, and the foundational importance of regular exercise, a healthy diet, and minimizing distractions to support your overall energy.
So it's about creating an environment and a structure that naturally supports productivity rather than just trying to muscle through tasks with sheer willpower alone. But he also stresses the importance of internal motivation as a core part of this system.
Precisely. He points out that no system, no matter how well designed, will be truly effective if you lack that inner drive. And he boils it down to a fundamental question. Why do you do what you do? Understanding your why, even if you need to actively define it for yourself, makes even the most mundane tasks more tolerable because they become connected to a larger, more meaningful purpose.
That makes perfect sense. It's much easier to push through something you might not inherently enjoy if you clearly understand how it contributes to a goal you genuinely care about. Now, let's shift gears slightly to time management. Foroux brings up Peter Drucker here, which signals we're moving beyond just getting a lot done to focusing on getting the right things done.
Exactly. He introduces Drucker's concept of personal effectiveness, emphasizing that true productivity isn't about just being busy. It's about concentrating your efforts on the tasks that will actually yield the results you're aiming for.
Right.
As he puts it, it's surprisingly easy to get caught up in doing work that feels productive but doesn't actually move you closer to your desired outcomes. Ultimately, he argues, it's the results that matter.
And he outlines a 3-step exercise, drawing on Drucker's work, to help us improve this personal effectiveness. What are those crucial steps?
Okay, the first step is all about awareness. Know thy time. This involves diligently tracking how you spend your time hour by hour for a period of about 2 weeks to a month.
Okay, like a time log.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The specific method you use, spreadsheet, notebook, app, isn't as important as consistently and honestly recording your activities. He even gives a brief example of what a log entry might look like.
Okay, so you need to actually see the data because our perception of how we spend our time can be, wildly inaccurate sometimes.
Totally. Then, step 2 is to critically analyze that time log to identify the non-productive work. Once you have a clear picture of where your time is going, you go through all the recurring activities and ask yourself a simple but powerful question. What would actually happen if I stopped doing this? If the answer is nothing significant or even nothing at all, then you've likely identified a time waster that's not contributing to your important goals.
That sounds almost too straightforward, but I can see how easily we can fall into doing things out of habit or obligation that don't really move the needle. So the third step must be about getting rid of those identified time wasters.
You've got it. Step 3 is to actively eliminate the time wasters. By consciously cutting out those trivial, pointless tasks that you identified, you free up valuable time and energy to focus on the activities that truly matter. He emphasizes that making this a recurring exercise, even doing it just a couple of times a year, can have a profound impact.
That makes a lot of practical sense. Now, he also highlights some specific unproductive habits that we should actively try to avoid. What are some of the key culprits he calls out?
He lists several common pitfalls, starting with the counterintuitive one of working too much, which can ironically lead to burnout and actually decrease your overall productivity in the long run.
Right, I've heard that.
He also points to the pervasive habit of mindless checking, constantly refreshing news feeds, social media, which provides minimal value but consumes huge amounts of time and attention. Yeah, most of us are. Another habit to watch out for is escaping life by avoiding problems instead of tackling them head on. Also, the tendency to say yes to everything, which inevitably leads to overcommitment and an inability to focus.
Definitely been there.
And finally, he stresses the importance of writing things down, arguing that solely relying on your memory is inefficient and drains cognitive resources. He makes the point that even highly productive individuals fall into these traps, but the key is awareness and actively working to minimize their impact.
It's a good reminder that striving for productivity isn't about achieving some mythical state of perfection, but about being aware of these common tendencies and consciously steering clear. He wraps up part 1 by discussing a 30-minute evening ritual. What's the thinking behind incorporating something like that?
The core idea is to create a deliberate transition from your workday to your evening, allowing you to wind down effectively and, maybe more importantly, prepare yourself mentally for a more focused day ahead.
Setting up for tomorrow.
Exactly. He emphasizes the critical role of good sleep and how a mind still racing with the day's events can severely disrupt it. This ritual is designed to bring structure and control, promoting better sleep and a calmer start to the next day.
And what exactly does this 30-minute evening ritual involve? What are the key steps?
It consists of 3 distinct components. The first 5 minutes are dedicated to reviewing the day, just taking a few moments to reflect on your performance, what went well, what you accomplished, maybe areas for improvement. He references Jim Rohn's idea of playing back the tapes of your day.
Okay, quick reflection.
Then the next 10 minutes, from minute 5 to 15, are for reviewing tomorrow's calendar. This means looking at your schedule, any upcoming meetings, deadlines, your top priorities for the following day. Just knowing what's coming reduces mental clutter and stress.
Okay, so bringing closure to today and creating a roadmap for tomorrow. What's the final part?
The final 15 minutes, from minute 15 to 30, are for visualizing. Drawing on Charles Duhigg's work, he explains how effective people often mentally rehearse their upcoming days. By taking this time in the evening to mentally prepare for the next day's key tasks and challenges, he finds it significantly reduces the likelihood of hitting snooze.
The snooze button battle.
Exactly, and sets the stage for a more intentional and focused start.
It sounds like a really structured, thoughtful way to end the day and proactively set yourself up. Okay, let's move on to part 2. Improving productivity. First topic. Something most of us grapple with daily, the impact of smartphones.
Absolutely. He makes a very strong argument that smartphones, despite their incredible utility, often harm our productivity far more than we realize. He even shares a rather startling statistic indicating that a significant percentage of people rate their phone as equally or even more important than close friends and family.
Right.
Highlights the potentially unhealthy dependence many of us have.
Wow, that's sobering. What are the specific ways he argues they undermine productivity?
Well, the constant barrage of notifications is a primary culprit. Even when a notification isn't urgent, it relentlessly competes for our attention, leading to fragmented focus, wasted time, context switching, and that feeling of being perpetually distracted.
Yeah, the little red dots.
Exactly. And he points out these apps are often intentionally designed with features that tap into our reward systems, making them incredibly effective at keeping us engaged, often against our better judgment.
So what are his practical suggestions for minimizing this? Throwing our phones in a lake probably isn't realistic for most.
No, probably not. He offers several actionable strategies. A big one is simply turning off all non-essential notifications, ruthlessly.
Okay.
He also strongly advocates for consciously taking control of how and when you use your phone rather than allowing it to control you. He shares his own experience of deliberately not responding immediately to every ping, emphasizing reclaiming your attention and time.
It really comes down to being more intentional, less reactive. Okay, next topic. The often complex relationship between perfectionism and procrastination. That feels like a tricky one.
It certainly is. He explains how the drive for perfection, often fueled by a fear of not meeting excessively high standards or getting bogged down in overthinking, can ironically be a significant driver of procrastination.
How so?
Well, he describes two common scenarios. The individual who never even starts because they doubt they can achieve perfection, and the person who does start, but sets such unrealistically high standards they constantly feel like they're falling short, leading to discouragement and eventually procrastination, both rooted in anxiety.
So striving for excellence isn't the enemy, but the paralyzing fear of not achieving that ideal can stop us.
Exactly. And his proposed antidote is introducing the valuable concept of learned resourcefulness.
Learned resourcefulness.
Yeah, it refers to your ability to manage your emotions and thoughts when facing stress, to proactively use your problem-solving skills, and to delay gratification for longer-term rewards. It's about cultivating a balanced approach, doing high-quality work, yes, but also being adaptable when things don't go perfectly.
So less OMG disaster and more.
Got this, I'll figure it out. Instead of perfectionism's panic or the slacker's apathy, it's about confident proactivity.
That's a really helpful reframe, fostering competence and adaptability, not chasing flawlessness. He also briefly touches on the value of reading more here.
Yes, he highlights reading as a powerful way to learn from others' experiences, quoting Bismarck about wise people learning from others while fools learn from their own mistakes.
Right.
He even mentions his personal goal of reading 100 books a year as a tangible example of intentional action towards continuous self-improvement.
Reinforces that idea of continuous learning. Now, this next point might seem a bit counterintuitive for boosting productivity, but he argues for the importance of taking regular vacations.
He does, and quite persuasively. He frames time off not as an indulgence, but as a crucial strategy for boosting long-term productivity and reducing stress.
Like recharging a battery.
Exactly that analogy. Our minds and bodies need downtime. He also points to scientific research consistently showing vacations decrease job stress and prevent burnout.
So it's not just feeling rested short term, but having a measurable positive impact long term. How does time off lead to more productivity, though?
He explains that knowing you have a defined break coming up can create a stronger sense of focus and urgency when you are working. Fewer days before the break means more motivation to be efficient.
Ah, interesting.
But he does caution against stressful vacations. Those negate the benefits. He also brings up an interesting point about allowing yourself to experience boredom during downtime as a potential catalyst for new ideas, referencing Andy Warhol's appreciation for boredom.
Boredom sparking creativity. Fascinating. Now, he dedicates a good chunk of this section to eliminating mindless browsing, a major struggle today.
Absolutely. He details how constant interruptions and multitasking, often fueled by mindless browsing, severely drain our cognitive energy due to context switching. He cites Gloria Mark's research. It can take around 25 minutes to fully return to a task after an interruption.
25 minutes, wow.
Yeah, and he explains the neurology, the dopamine rush from notifications, creating an addictive cycle pulling us away from meaningful work.
It's a vicious cycle, isn't it? Dopamine hit, derailed focus, mental fatigue. What concrete strategies does he offer to break free?
He provides a really comprehensive list, like 20 specific things. It ranges from consciously saying no to things that don't align with your goals, to taking short, regular breaks, ruthlessly eliminating distractions, physical and digital, decluttering, focusing intensely on one task, no multitasking, limiting information consumption.
So many things.
Right, establishing routines, planning the next day, minimizing overthinking, exercising, laughing, avoiding unnecessary meetings, questioning necessity, resetting after a bad day, and ultimately just committing to doing the work.
That's incredibly practical. Concrete steps, not just abstract advice. He also revisits taking time off, emphasizing how it can improve our work. He really wants this point to land.
He does. He reiterates that time off lets the brain's default mode network engage, crucial for processing, learning, creativity. He contrasts powering through with the long-term benefits of rest for preventing burnout.
And he lists personal benefits he's seen.
Yes, 5 specific things. gaining perspective to check if he's working on the right things, returning with renewed energy and excitement, having more time for inspiring activities like consuming art, dedicating more attention to non-work life like family and hobbies, and just an overall improvement in well-being.
Those are really compelling reasons to prioritize downtime. Next technique, time blocking. I've heard of it, but what's his approach?
He presents it as remarkably simple, yet incredibly effective. Using your calendar to proactively schedule specific blocks of time for your most important tasks. During that block, you focus only on that task.
Your calendar guides your workflow.
Exactly. And he emphasizes it's more than scheduling. It's an exercise in self-awareness. Does your calendar reflect your stated priorities?
Oh, good point. If writing is a priority, is there a block for it? He mentions Cal Newport, too.
Yes. References Cal Newport, author of Deep Work, who's a strong proponent. Newport plans meticulously each evening. 4 underscores that busy doesn't equal progress. Time blocking enhances focus on what drives you forward.
Any tips for implementing it?
Yeah, take maybe 10 minutes each evening to plan the next day. Use recurring blocks for regular tasks. And he addresses the over-planning concern by highlighting the goal is focused work, echoing Pressfield's pro versus amateur consistency over inspiration.
Makes sense. Be proactive, not reactive. He then shares a personal anecdote about stopping daily workouts and the impact.
He does. He cut back on exercise during a busy period, thinking he'd free up time. But he found his productivity and energy decline noticeably. Only when he resumed regular workouts did his focus and vitality return. He uses Zig Ziglar's bathing daily analogy for exercise. It's ongoing, non-negotiable for overall well-being and sustained productivity, not just looks. He encourages finding a personal fitness goal focused on functionality.
A powerful reminder of the mind-body connection. Finally, in part 2, the power of breaks, specifically the Pomodoro technique.
He presents this as simple yet highly effective. A brief 5-minute break after every focused 30-minute work interval.
30 on, 5 off.
Exactly. He explains it aligns with natural attention spans, referencing research suggesting briefly disengaging actually enhances focus long-term. These short breaks aren't just rest. They're a chance to step back, reevaluate, maybe improve quality.
Any tips for Pomodoro?
Use a timer app.
Yeah.
Dedicate each 30-minute interval to one task and take longer breaks after several intervals.
Another counterintuitive idea, stepping away, helps you do more. Okay, now we transition into part 3, achieving more. First topic. That feeling many of us have, I don't really know what I want.
He offers a reassuring perspective. Feeling uncertain about ultimate goals is common, not panic-worthy. He highlights life's unpredictability, suggesting embracing uncertainty can be liberating. He also underscores the value of broad knowledge reading diverse topics, as you never know what might be relevant later.
So accept life isn't a straight path, and exploring can open doors. Instead of a rigid destination, he talks about knowing your general direction. What's the distinction?
He emphasizes having a general sense of direction is often more important practical than a meticulous, inflexible plan. He quotes J. Abraham on the sadness of pursuing the wrong target. If you're unsure of your direction, figuring that out becomes the primary goal. A broad vision, even if specific milestones aren't clear.
Like setting a compass heading, not obsessing over every waypoint. While figuring that out, he recommends developing universal skills. What kind?
7 key transferable skills valuable regardless of your path. Self-discipline, personal effectiveness, we covered that, strong communication, negotiation, persuasion, physical strength and stamina, and flexibility, both physical and mental emotional adaptability. By improving these, you become more capable and resilient, and might gain clarity on your passions too.
Definitely foundational skills. Next topic, leaving work at work. A constant struggle for many.
It is. He makes a strong case for consciously leaving on time, resisting taking work home, crucial for a happier, sustainable career. He challenges the perception as reality. Culture, equating long hours with value, sharing his mentor's cautionary tale of excessive hours.
Right.
He also quotes Marcus Aurelius. True happiness comes from within. Work is just one part of a fulfilling life.
A valuable reminder for work-life balance. Next principle, the power of consistency.
He emphasizes achieving big goals isn't about dramatic breakthroughs, but small, consistent daily progress, even just 0.1% improvement each day.
The compounding effect.
Exactly. He connects this to stoicism and pragmatism for mental toughness and consistency. The key is focusing on what you control your actions, your mindset, especially when facing setbacks.
Those tiny daily improvements adding up. Now he revisits the comfort zone, but with a nuanced take, different from the usual magic happens outside mantra.
He thoughtfully challenges that. He suggests establishing a strong foundation within your comfort zone enables more effective, sustainable risk-taking and growth. He uses his own journey as an example. Gradual expansion, not drastic leaps.
So build a secure base first.
Right. Stepping outside requires more effort and preparation, not instant magic. He stresses building a financial safety net and valuable skills before big risks.
Build a base, then expand strategically. Okay. Next principle, the power of belief.
He distinguishes superficial motivation from the practical power of genuine belief, quoting William James. Belief will help create the fact.
Yeah.
He emphasizes you actively choose what you believe, and these beliefs shape your reality. He shares a personal story of overcoming fear-based beliefs and realizing the immense power of self-belief. He concludes, if your mind can conceive it, it can be achieved.
Underscores the power of mindset. The next idea shifts perspective, especially in business. Creation versus competition.
He challenges the ingrained notion of competing for limited resources, jobs, market share. Instead, cultivate an abundance mindset. Focus on creation. He quotes Wallace D. Wattles, channel energy into creating what you desire, not just competing for what exists.
Create your own opportunities.
Exactly. Proactively create your desired career, ignore naysayers, adopt abundance, innovation, not scarcity and rivalry.
Interesting shift. He then circles back to basics and repetition, tying into consistency.
Exactly. Mastery in any field comes from consistent focus on fundamentals. He uses UFC champ Daniel Cormier as an example. Success through diligent basics, mental strength, like physical, is built through repeating fundamentals like self-reliance, self-discipline. He quotes Pressfield again.
Even at the highest levels, it's about consistent fundamentals. The penultimate topic, measuring life effectively.
He introduces three key interconnected areas: energy, work, and relationships. They're synergistic. High energy improves work, boosting satisfaction and capacity for relationships. Strong relationships boost well-being and energy.
A holistic view.
Yes. He quotes Clayton Christensen on nurturing relationships and emphasizes measuring your input into relationships, not just what others do. Focus on what you control.
Focus on your contribution. Finally, he concludes with the power of compounding.
Brings it back to focusing efforts strategically. Concentrate on one key thing at a time. Don't dilute energy. He quotes Keller and Papasan from The One Thing.
The one thing, right.
He shares his experience. Studying one subject intensely, focusing on one major project, concentrated effort, leads to quicker progress and bigger results through focused compounding.
A really powerful final thought focus leverages compounding. So as we wrap this deep dive into Darius Foroux's Do It Today, what's the core message our listeners should take heart?
The overarching theme is about reclaiming conscious control through deliberate, consistent effort, building sustainable systems, not relying on fleeting willpower, and consistently directing your energy towards what's genuinely meaningful, overcoming procrastination, boosting productivity, or achieving those bigger life goals.
And it's all been curated and explored specifically for you, our listener, offering a concentrated dose of some truly valuable, actionable insights. So here's your final thought to really chew on. Identify just one key takeaway from our conversation today that particularly resonated.
Just one thing.
And even more importantly, commit to taking just one small, concrete action based on that takeaway today. Embody that do it today philosophy. Perhaps even start by reflecting on the dynamic interplay between your current comfort zone and the aspirations you hold for the future. That could be a great starting point for action.